Loftus Hall's self-introduction. First of all, I'll start talking about how I heard about Loftus Hall when it became Loftus Hall. It started before Loftus Hall. What they did in ancient places or buildings, what happened during the Loftus Hall before, during, and after years later, as of today. This podcast should last about at least 15-20 minutes. It's going to be okay. What was this whole introduction? Before it became Loftus Hall, though the site has history dating back to 1170. The current structure was largely built between 1872 and 1879 by the fourth Marquis of Ely. In 1170, the site of Loftus Hall was not a grand mansion, but a Norman defensive stronghold. It marked the very beginning of the estate's history following the Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland. Okay. It marked the very beginning of the estate's history following, okay, the original structure, household, castle, founder. The land was claimed by Raymond Longgroves, also known as Raymond Fitzgerald, a prominent Norman knight who landed at Baginton on the Hook Peninsula in May 1170. Type of building, he constructed a small motte and bailey style fortification or basic stone castle known as Houseland Castle. Purpose: it served as one of the several strongholds used by Norman knights to secure and extend their rule over County Wexford. When it became Loftus Hall, the hall's spooky reputation stems from a famous 18th century tale, The Devil's Visit. Legend says that Tanaham, the family, took in a mysterious stronger during a storm, during a card game. Young Anne Tottenham dropped the card and, upon leaning down, noticed the stranger had clover heaves in a, instead of feet. The aftermath: the stranger supposedly vanished through the ceiling in a ball of fire, leaving a hole that reportedly could never be perfectly repaired and never recovered from the shock and locked in the tapestry room until her death. Is said her ghost is said to still haunt the corridors. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That is really creepy and scary. Just even the thought about that is just what happened and just what's going on. That is scary. That is really, really, really scary. Now, the scandal. This final led to a dark speculation that Anne had become pregnant, possibly by the mysterious stranger, and that her family had hidden the child to avoid a public scandal. Some theories suggest the infant was murdered or died of neglect and was subsequently walled up in the very room where Anne was being confined. Years later, years after Lady Anne Tennant's death in 1775, I think, the tapestry room became the focal point of a cruiseman discovery that added a layer of historical horror to the existing ghost stones during major renovations commissioned by the fourth Marquess of Ely between 1872 and 1884. Workmen discovered the skeletal remains of a small infant hidden within the walls of the tapestry room. The final conclusion about Loftus Hall in the years. The building had several various roles. History of uses that has been noble residence, a convent for the Sisters of Providence, and a hotel. Current transition in in late 2025, Loftus Hall was sold to a private investor from Meath, Maine, who plans to transform the estate into a luxury agri-based hotel called the Loftus Estate. It is currently closed to the public while undergoing extensive phase restoration to preserve its heritage while modern hospitality facilities. Paranormal activity reported later as the hall transitioned through a different owners from a convent to a hotel and finally a tourist attraction. The tapestry room maintained its reputation as the most active part of the house. The window vigil visitors and staff frequently reported seeing the ghostly figure of a woman standing by the window of the tapestry room, looking out toward the sea as waiting for someone to return. Unexplained phenomena during the years. The hall was open for ghost tours. 2012, 2020, guests reported heavy atmospheres, the sound of phantom footsteps, and a persistent pressure on the chest when entering the room. Exorcism attempts. Legend says that while a priest successfully cleared the rest of the house in the 18th century, The tapestry room was the only space where he could not banish the dark presence. That's the part where it should have been cleaned out when the priest successfully cleared the rest of the house, but that's where he cannot banish the dark presence. I'm gonna read stuff that. Hey, the transition to the Redman family. Assimilation. Raymond Locke Ross reportedly changed his surname to Redmond to better assimilate to Irish society. Legacy. His descendants, the Redman family, held the property for centuries. In roughly 1350, they replaced this original 11 structure with the more substantial castle known as Redman Hall. Evolution. Parts of these older structures were later incorporated into the foundations of the current Victorian mansion, which was renamed Loftus Hall. After the estate was seized by the Loftus family during the Cromwellian conquest in the 1650s. Years after Lady Antonia's death in 1775, the tapestry room became the focal point of gruesome discovery that added a layer of historical horror to the existing ghost stories. The gruesome discovery, 1870s and 1880s. During major renovations commissioned by the Fourth Marquis of Ella between 1872 and 1884, workmen discovered the skeletal remains of a small, I've said that before, infant hidden within the walls of tapestry room. The scandal. Again, this final led to the dark speculation that Anne had become pregnant, possibly by the mysterious stranger, and that her family had hidden in the child to avoid a public scandal. The fate of the child. Some theories suggest the infant was murdered or died of neglect and was subsequently walled up in the very room where Anne was being confined. I don't know if I said this or not, but paranormal activity reported later. I think I did. Yep, I did. Well, just from the tapestry room maintained its reputation as the most active part of the house, which is really scary. Okay, modern restoration under the new ownership of the Loftus estate is in late 2025. The room is part of a phased restoration while the building is currently closed for its transformation into a luxury hotel, which I've said that earlier too, but I did not. The room's history remains its most famous crawl, often cited as the reason why previous owners found it difficult to keep staff or guests in that specific wing of the house. And that's it. And that was the Loftus Hall about, because so far I've said about self introduction before it became Loftus Hall, when it became Loftus Hall, and years later, the final conclusion about Loftus Hall is about someone about to own it and turn it into a hotel, modern hospitality facilities. A lot of that place is very active. It had a lot of shows on it. It had Irish. It had ghost adventures on it. Skating, Project Fear, Destination Fear, I believe was on there. And then my other one I talked about. Uh, yeah, the Padre Hotel. Now that's it for the Loftus Hall, Ireland. And thank you guys for all listening. For well, to still talk because if they ever seen the Loftus Hall, it's really beautiful. It has like 22 bedrooms, I think, something like that. And it has like a staircase when you walk through there. It goes this staircase and really creepy. Um, you all have a good one and safe out there. Make good decisions, and I'll talk to you guys later about another paranormal podcast.